Gavin, there was a fairly cool reception when the Taoiseach spoke about the Middle East.
That's right. It was very striking to hear the response that Leo Varadkar got when he was speaking at the Ireland Fund's gala last night, and when he mentioned the plight of what's going on in Ukraine, and then afterwards the plight of what's going on in the Middle East, and the notable difference in the responses in the room, a room which was packed with the greater good of the Irish-American community and many high-ranking American politicians. This is traditionally something of a jamboree, the Ireland Fund's dinner, an event set up in the early 90s to promote reconciliation in the island of Ireland, and which Leo Varadkar now hopes could be inspiration for reconciliation in other parts of the world. He encouraged the American audience not to lose interest or to lose faith or hope in what's going on in Ukraine, and received a very warm round of applause when he said that Ireland supported democracy, supported the rule of law, and would stand with Ukraine for as long as it took. But the reception was slightly more lukewarm when he also encouraged those in America and Europe to do more to bring about lasting peace in the Middle East.
As we sit here tonight in this wonderful building, Palestinian civilians who are not responsible for the crimes of Hamas are being subject to humiliation and starvation, and that is wrong. We, as Europeans and Americans, that are at least in some part responsible for the troubles in that region, have a duty to do all that we can to bring peace and justice to the Holy Land.
Now, the applause that Leo Varadkar received after that comment was relatively lukewarm compared to the overwhelming response that he got when he mentioned Ukraine. If there was perhaps some stimulation or some kind of inspiration in the room for those attending about what could be done in the Middle East, it was in the presence on stage of Michelle O'Neill and Emma Little-Pengelly, the recently installed First and Deputy First Ministers of Northern Ireland. They are not traditionally honorees at these events, and of course for many of the last 7 years there haven't been First and Deputy First Ministers to attend an event like this in Washington. They spoke on stage together, and there was again a remark from Michelle O'Neill about the need to use Northern Ireland as inspiration for a solution in the Middle East.
Sadly, we know the cost of conflict, but we also equally know the value of peace and how precious that is. So I enjoy the relationship that we share so deeply here with the US administration, and I encourage that same constructive, critical partnership in terms of what's happening in the Middle East.
And again, you can hear the slightly reluctant applause from that, where it took some time for those in the room to realise the merit in what Michelle O'Neill might have been suggesting. This is something which no doubt is going to come up tomorrow when the Taoiseach sits down in the Oval Office for that traditional annual meeting with the President of the United States. Joe Biden is not in town today. He's off on the campaign trail going to Michigan, a crucial key swing state ahead of the 2024 general election. But given some of the pressure that Leo Varadkar has been on from home to make sure that he raises the plight of civilians in Gaza, perhaps those two muted applauses last night might be some illustration of the uphill battle he will face to try and win over hearts and minds here in Washington.
Gavin Riley live in Washington. Thank you for all of that.